What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel for another EVE Online video. In today's video, we're going to be going over mining in HiSec and whether or not it is still a viable thing to do in 2021 for ISK. But before we get started, two things. First things first, yep, I shaved my beard. Second thing, hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. The more likes I get on this video, the faster my beard grows back. And additionally, if we get over 100 likes on this video, I'm going to be doing another one where I cover whether or not ninja mining in low sec is viable as well. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and let's dive right in. So specifically in this video, I'm going to be covering the fits, the strategy, and the risks of doing mining in HiSec. But before we jump into that, let's make sure that we're all comparing the same details. So our metrics here are going to be solo mining, semi-AFK in HiSec. So no mining with alts, and no moon mining either. So how prevalent is ganking in HiSec when you're mining? So the answer to that, as with many other answers, is often going to be found on Z Killboard. So what we're looking at here, let's see. Okay, so I'm on Velour currently, which is a 0.5 system. And we're going to be focusing on 0.5 systems and 0.6 simply because that's where you'll get the most return out of your rocks that you're mining, basically. And first things first, it seems here like we got a bit of a Triglavian infestation in Velour currently happening. So that's good to keep in mind. That's good to look out for. But now let's take a look for ganking kills specifically. All right, so we got one here. So this is a retriever. Total damage dealt 5,500. That makes sense. That's about as much tank as you can get with a retriever with this current fit that the guy had. And it took 2 catalysts to kill this. Here's another one. And this guy here is Venson, whatever that first name is, has definitely killed me quite a few times. And let's see here, 7k damage on a retriever, pretty standard. All right, so I skipped a few other retrievers. Now here's a coveter. Coveter, not a lot of tank on those ships. So this is 5200 DPS, same guy again. Here's the money shot. So a Machina. Oh, same guy again. Oh, that's a nice skill for him. Okay, so this is actually 10k damage, and it's a loss of 227 million. Whew, takes a little while to earn that back while mining for sure. Let's take a look at a different system here. So the system of Baal is also a 0.5 system, decently busy for PvP as well. Oh, so we've got a retriever here. We have another Machina here. We have a procurer here. So this procurer was definitely a bit of a weird fit. I'm not sure what he was trying to achieve here with these structure repairer and a micro warp drive on there. Kind of weird, and he obviously sacrificed a lot of tank to do that. So these guys were able to kill him fairly quickly. So what we can see is that ganking is still very prevalent, and the catalyst is still in most cases the ship of choice. So I went ahead and I built this little spreadsheet here, since I love spreadsheets so much, to take a look at what the catalyst can do and how much DPS it can apply before Concord shows up. Okay, so a properly fitted with close to max skill catalyst, overheated, will be able to dish out about 750 DPS. And if you guys have some info that I don't have, if you have different figures, let me know in the comments. I'd like to know if this is actually accurate or if it's more or less than this. Now this stuff here though doesn't really change. In a 0.5 system, your base response time plus lockdown from Concord is 21 seconds. If they are distracted, spawn somewhere else in the system, 27. And then we can see these figures get shorter and shorter response time as we go higher and higher security status. And this is the total amount of damage that a single catalyst ganker can dish out to your ship depending on these figures. So these here are mostly the figures that we're going to be taking a look at and that we are going to be basing ourselves on to determine our fits. So when talking about fits, we're going to be taking a look at mining barges, exhumers, and at the Orca. Okay, so none of these are alpha friendly, and the way these works, basically your mining barge is your T1 excavator ship, and your exhumer is your tier 2 excavator ship. And these basically cover 3 separate roles. So first you will have the T1 the procurer, which is basically a ship meant to have a lot of HP, not as much mining power. It's really meant to be a pretty big tank, so it's very hard to take down, but it doesn't have as big of an ore hold, and it doesn't mine quite as fast. Then we're going to have the coveter, which is a much faster mining ship, will work very well with boosts and stuff like that, but very, very low tank. And then we have the retriever, which is sort of the in-between. It's a great solo mining ship. It has a very, very large ore hold, but it doesn't have a great tank, and it mines relatively fast, but not quite as fast as the coveter. So obviously all of these also have their Tech 2 ships, with the Hulk, which is actually the Tech 2 of the coveter. So mines really, really quickly, but low tank again. Now we have the skiff, which is the Tech 2 of the procurer. Incredibly high tank. You can almost get 100k HP from a skiff. And then finally we have the Machina, which is going to have a massive ore hold, amazing for solo mining, but once again does not have great tank. And finally, we've got our Orca, which is an industrial command ship. Great for solo mining with drones, or great for boosting a mining fleet and stuff like that. Incredibly large tank. Obviously, it's a very expensive ship. You'll typically get about 300 to 350k HP out of this ship, and it's going to be very safe for mining in high sec. Now, obviously, a small caveat here: if gankers want you dead, they will bring enough ships to kill you. That's not really a question. We're mostly basing this whole video around the solo ganking kettle-less ships in high sec that will attack miners in 0.5 and 0.6 systems. So for this reason, I have based my fits that I'm going to be showing you guys mostly around the skiff, the machina, the procurer, and the retriever, simply because the coveter and the hulk are ships that are meant more for mining in a fleet, getting a boost, and getting protection from other ships. So they don't really apply very well to solo mining in high sec. All right, so let's start taking a look at returns per hour and the fits themselves. So back on my spreadsheet here, I went ahead and created a second one where I take a look basically at how much you're making per hour mining the higher value ores in high sec. Okay, so I went ahead and took a look at Rich Plagio class, dense feldspar, and massive scordite. You'll always want to sell them compressed. That's how you'll make the most ISK, and it's easier to transport that way as well. How much ore that is raw, and basically how much you're going to be making for 1 cubic meter of ore for each of these. So the Rich Plagio has at 225 ISK per cubic meter, dense feldspar 196, and massive scordite 185. Okay, so the fits that I have here. So first of all, a T1 procurer will be making, at the best, mining Rich Plagio class 13.4 million ISK per hour. We're going to be looking at an EHP of 45,750 and an ore hold of 12k. So let's actually take a look at this fit. So we're basically putting tier 1 everything. You have the fit on the left here. It's a ship that's meant for a decent amount of tank where not a lot of gankers will want to try to kill you in it. You'll be able to survive most solo or duo ganks, but you're only using tier 1 everything, so you're not mining relatively fast. We are relying on a few mining drones as well, and then a couple of extra drones for safety. So when mining, typically with this ship personally, what I'd be doing is I'd have 3 mining drones out, 2 other drones for safety to kill rats that are coming in. So every time that the ore hold is filled, I'm throwing all of it into a cargo container, and I'm leaving it there for about an hour before I actually do a trip, grab a miasmo, and then go out and collect all my ores in my containers. Personally, I think that that's the best way to use this ship, simply because you have a small ore hold. It doesn't really make sense for you to go back and forth every like 5-6 minutes to unload everything. Better off just putting everything in cargo containers. You can wait about an hour to an hour and a half before the cargo containers expire in space. So you have about that much time to do a single or a double trip with a miasmo and save quite a bit of time. Next, we have a tier 2 procurer, so we're going to be looking at 17 mil for the Rich Plagio class and 14.8 for the dense feldspar. We're looking at 50, almost 55k EHP, and again the 12k hold. And so that's what this ship looks like over here. So you guys can take a screenshot of this if you want. And all of the fits are going to be linked in the description as well. I'm going to have everything on there. So in this one, it's the exact same fit as before, except now we have tier 2 everything, including the modulated strip miner 2 that we're using Tech 2 mining crystals with as well. So we are looking at an awesome tank of almost 55k EHP, and this will survive most ganks in high sec. Next, we have a tier 1 retriever fit. So the downside of the retriever is the very low tank. So let me show you guys what that fit looks like. The tier 1 retriever, we have all shield extenders in the rigs here, and we're getting 12k EHP essentially. If that's what you have access to, you're going to be making 13.7 mil an hour. However, I highly recommend for about the same amount, just a tiny little bit less, to definitely fit a procurer instead. That would be my go-to ship if you can only fit Tech 1 barges. You're getting a lot more EHP. You do have a smaller cargo hold, but you can just put everything in cargo containers in space and then go collect it afterward. Then take a look at a tier 2 retriever. So the same fit as a tier 1, but everything Tech 2. Now we're starting to talk slightly higher numbers in terms of ISK per hour, but once again, the tank is kind of low, so you'll only be able to mine safely in a 0.7 system or higher. Then we get into the exhumers, so the tier 2 ships. So first of all, we'll never fit a tier 2 mining barge or an exhumer with Tech 1 modules, so I'm not even looking at those fits here at all. So first of all, a Tech 2 fitted machina will mine for about 19.5 mil an hour if you're mining Plagio class. Now a slightly higher tank, so this is almost enough to be safe in a 0.5 system. Personally, I wouldn't tempt it. If Concord has been spawned already somewhere else in the system, you will die simply because you're not hitting 20k HP here. But obviously the massive advantage of a machina is just how big the ore hold is. You'll only need to be doing like 1 or 2 trips an hour to go unload everything at a station. And this is what this ship looked like. So our Tech 2 machina, once again using everything Tech 2. You will need to put a medium processor overclocking unit 2 in the rigs here just to be able to fit everything and fit your mining laser upgrades as well. Obviously you could replace these with tank, but at that point you're not mining enough to really make it worth it to be using a machina. While we are making 19.5 mil an hour with the machina, if you start sacrificing some of this, you are way too low below the actually tier 2 skiff. And this is by far my favorite fit. When I was mining quite a bit, this is the one that I was using for semi-AFK mining. So tier 2 skiff is actually going to have massive tank while also being able to get quite a decent mining yield per hour. What I like about it is that while it does have a small ore hold, you can just do the exact same trick as a procurer, which is just to put everything in a cargo container in space, which by the way just works by simply selecting all of your ore in here. You jettison everything in space, and then you can have access to this cargo container to keep putting stuff into it. And this tier 2 skiff, which is once again the ideal fit in my book for solo mining in HiSec. If you don't have access to an Orca, this is definitely the best. This is what it looks like. So we are getting a decent return from the drones by having the 2 drone mining augmenters here. We have our 3 mining laser upgrades. We're just relying on passive shield amplifiers here in the thermal and kinetic resistance profiles. And the reason why is because gankers that are using catalysts will be doing thermal and kinetic damage. And even 2 catalysts with Concord spawn somewhere else in system won't really be able to take this down. You might survive with a little bit of VHP left. So currently, if you do not have access to an Orca and you want to do solo mining semi-AFK in HiSec in a 0.5 system, these are the figures that you're looking at per hour. Is it worth it? I don't know. That's up to you to decide. I think if you're doing it semi-AFK because you have other things going on in your life and you have to be doing other things, but you are at your computer and you can keep an eye on it just to throw stuff in the cargo containers or handle the rats when they come around, this can actually be worth it. What else are you going to be doing in EVE semi-AFK that's going to bring you this type of return? I'm not too sure. If you're trying to do this in an active way, I don't think it's really worth it for all the skill time and everything else that you put into building a character to do this. Instead, there are so many other active things that you could be doing in EVE that will make you quite a bit of ISK per hour. Obviously, if this is what you prefer doing, then it's 100% worth it. It all really just comes down to how you prefer to play the game. For reference here, I also threw in a Hulk fit just to give an idea of what a Hulk fitted to be able to survive a solo ganker in a 0.5 system would look like. So you would mine a little bit more than my T2 skiff. However, with a much smaller ore hold, you'd be moving your ore around almost every 2 minutes, which is not semi-AFK mining anymore. Just to show you what that fit looks like though, if you wanted to use this fit and use it with an ore cut boost it, this is what it would look like. So we are fit for a decent amount of tank here with a shield extender here. We have a damage control and a reinforced bulkhead and a single mining laser upgrade here. We didn't put any scanner in the mids simply because I'm assuming that you're mining in a fleet with this ship and you would have an Orca scanning down the belt for you. So we can see here 22k EHP with a stable capacitor, so you can just have the shield hardeners running full time on this ship. And this brings me to the final fit, which is your tier 2 Orca, relying only on drones for mining and mining the same amount, 25 cubic meters per second, as your skiff here, which is, in my opinion, the safest way to mine in HiSec. Obviously, if you don't have the skills to run the Orca, go for the skiff instead. And this type of return on an Orca is with most skills almost maxed out. Okay, so specifically, what we are looking at here is this fit here. So once again, everything is going to be linked in the description below. Right now, I don't have the skills to run the mining 4-man bursts up here, but everything else on this fit is meant for tank and for solo mining with drones to get 311k EHP here on the side, and this is the actual fit itself. Personally, I do not have the industrial command ship level 5 skill, so if I did, I get an extra 10% return on this. And the strategy with an Orca is very much you warp to the belt, you stay like on the outside of it so that you can still align without bumping into asteroids, and then you try to be as close as possible to the asteroids that your drones are mining so that the return and flight time of the drones is shortened as much as possible. And you just move drones to new rocks as you need to. As the ore hold fills up, you can move it into the other holds in the ship as well. So at the end of the day, what we're looking at here with the current prices for these ores, we're looking at the best, about 20 mil an hour mining semi-AFK in high sec while still being safe from a single or a double catalyst gank. So is it worth it? I don't know. At the end of 2020, when the ore prices went up like crazy, you could actually make close to 30 mil an hour with this fit here. And that was definitely a little bit more worth it at that point to be doing that semi-AFK. I'd say if you can get an Orca and just do it a couple of hours a day while you're doing other things, it might be worth it. But as an active thing to do for ISK in EVE Online right now, not really worth it. In another video in the future, I'm going to show you guys how I made close to 200 million ISK an hour with mining in a completely different way than actually grinding the rocks down myself. But that's going to be for another video. And if you'd like to find out how you could be making quite a bit more than this in EVE Online in a more active way, check out this intro video to Tier 0 filaments right over here. And that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Fly safe and peace out.